The Council of Seven Lights, by George Van Tassel. Publication date 1958. This book is within the public domain. Audiobook format by The Matrix Minds. The Table of Contents. Book Introduction. Chapter 1, The Missing Link. Chapter 2, Invisible Gears. Chapter 3, The Sons of God. Chapter 4, Trinity of Infinity. Chapter 5, Unseen Scales. Chapter 6, The Angels of Space. Chapter 7, Prodigal Mother. Chapter 8, Methuselah's Toy. Chapter 9, The Sword of Damocles. Chapter 10, The False Chariot. Welcome to Chapter 8, Methuselah's Toy. The Great Pyramid Pyre means fire, mid, the equal distance between the extremes, pyramid. Fire, or positive light substance in the middle of Giza, Egypt, is the only existent structure on the Earth that remains intact after 25,816 years. It is the greatest power plant ever built on this planet. At the time of its use it could furnish more power than the generators at Niagara Falls could produce in 1,000 years. The Great Pyramid was never intended to be a tomb or a monument for the pharaohs. Neither was it built by the Egyptians or Hyksos, as assumed by historians. It was erected by a remnant of the Adamic race on this planet. In order to produce the power required, the pyramid was built in minute conformity to the measurements of our solar system. All dimensions were accurately computed to ensure correct functional operation. The pyramid was designed by Enoch and built by Thothma with the help of the true descendants of the Adamic race, the space people who had made a forced landing on Earth. Knowing the universal laws and their application, they received timely warning and journeyed to Egypt before the sinking of the great continent Atlantis. Enoch and Thothma flying in an aircraft called VAILX. After landing in Egypt 25,825 years ago, they started the operations and spent the next 9 years in building the Great Pyramid. Utilizing knowledge gleaned from their secret records, they employed the infinite light powers. They knew how to manipulate the light lines of force to cut the blocks with light energy from the A positive and B negative lines of force. They transported the heavy blocks with their VAILX. Hovering over each block, they encompassed it in their force field, eliminating the weight of the block in relation to the Earth. The blocks, shaped so as to assure astronomical precision, correspond to and contain all pertinent data of our Earth and solar system. These correct dimensions were necessary in creating a positive solar vortex on a small scale from the A positive and B negative lines of light force. The Great Pyramid was erected at its present location for several reasons. Its location was on the side of the negative polarity from the equator. The 30 feet latitude was the maximum vortex belt on both sides of the equator. It was lateral through the Earth to the positive pole of the planet's core. It was centrally located on the Earth's landmass, which was its nearest maximum point of negative polarity. It was opposite to the Earth's largest mass of water, which served as a reflector. The weight of the pyramid had to be tremendous in order to prevent its twisting out of shape, or rotating on its base. The controversial capstone and a few courses of blocks were left off intentionally, as experiments proved they were not needed. Illustration here: as the Earth rotated, each revolution brought the pyramid into a cycle of A positive and B negative lines of force. This caused an increase in the vortex shaft of positive force, the principle of the cyclotron. Thus, after a period of days, the vortex reached and held its maximum force. All this planning and work, astronomy, mathematics, and engineering, was recorded symbolically in the stones as the work progressed. Jesus knew this by intuition and journeyed to Egypt to refresh his memory from the stone records erected by his people. In building this power plant of astounding dimensions, the chief concern was the safe return to their own people. Being endowed with true perception, they visioned the coming cataclysms of the planet and planned an exodus. When the time of departure arrived, they entered the king's chamber in the pyramid and charged themselves in the super light force vortex. Then they boarded their ships, hovering for a while over the truncated top of the pyramid in the positive shaft of force which extended beyond the gravity range of the planet. When the ships were properly charged, they were actually repelled from the planet and navigated with super speed to the destination. Some of the sons of God, the Adamic race, who remained on this planet knew of and used the stored-up power of the pyramid for several thousand years. For instance, Methuselah and his sons prolonged their lifespan for hundreds of years by charging the bodies in the vortex. Many of the deceased pharaohs, placed in the open tomb of the king's chamber for regeneration, were restored to life. Those who did not revive were left there for a period of 28 days, during which time the mummification took place. However, as the earth moved in the precession of the equinox, the regenerative and rejuvenating powers embodied in the pyramid were lost. Rulers around the earth, knowing of the rejuvenating powers of the pyramid, tried to duplicate the Great Pyramid of Giza by building a pyramid of their own by manual labor in order to live longer themselves. They did not fully know the principles of primary energy, however, so their pyramids became the tombs. Nevertheless, the secrets are not completely lost. Humans, knowing they are alive now, and not knowing what lies beyond the transition called death, attempt by every means possible to keep the physical bodies alive. The inner mind keeps transmitting the faint hope to their understanding that they can live forever. Naturally, knowing that they possess a physical vehicle now, they are reluctant to part with the old model to which they have become accustomed. Monkey glands, hormones, operations, injections, etc. have been advanced by the technicians in biological and medical science to try to prolong the life of the physical body. People assume that substance of a physical or chemical nature can support substance of like physical nature. This is based on the theory that if you keep adding dirt to a hill that erosion is constantly dispersing, it will always be a hill. Nature always wins the battle in the long run, because natural forces are eternal. Man's efforts to overcome nature by opposing it will lose every time. The only means by which man can add years to the physical form is by going with the natural, eternal forces. Life is eternally continuous. Humans have placed the limits of was, are, and will be on life. These divisions of time are from the physical brain. The flesh we call the brain only understands now, it only exists in the physical body for now. It cannot understand anything beyond its own limits of birth and death. All physical substance changes in time. It is understandable when one has spent his years in building up associations, friends, and family, why he wishes to remain here longer. His brain concept of the physical body does not want to give up its encasing form. The biggest trouble on this planet is that when you get smart enough to do something with the knowledge you have acquired here, death intervenes. Our lifespan is just too short. In Genesis, chapter 5, it tells of Seth, Enos, Jared, Methuselah, and others living for hundreds of years. They were so close to the knowledge of their ancestors of the Adamic colony on Earth that they used the fountain of youth principles to add to their lifespan. Rejuvenation is done with the infinite light, or what is called God power. In the application of this power, the one receiving it does not see, feel, taste, smell, or hear anything. I have the information to make rejuvenation possible, adding 50 to 80 years onto the average lifespan, plus resumption of youthful vitality. The only difficulty I will have is that we're on a planet that is revolving. In order to operate this apparatus, I must clock it to the Earth's rotation, quite like a large telescope is clocked to keep it centered on the object being viewed. O mortal beings, though many may express belief in the teachers I have sent, I accept them, providing that the expression of belief is not a living lie. And those who live my laws and say, there is no God above them, I accept also. Though words may deny my person, the actions prove me in the heart. belief expressed in words is not verified in fact unless the living brings about the proof. Though multitudes have closed the door that keeps me from being the directing force, I condemn them not. Though laws may make my being infinite and boundless beyond comprehension, I am not there in the individual except as I am expressed in action. O mortals bound in density, look to the examples I have placed around you. Bow not your head to come to me, only prepare that I may be recognized within your being. Stumble not on barriers that mortal eyes fall to see. Build the perception within that may guide your path, that I may light the way so none shall stumble in progress of eternity. Lean not upon the cane of chance, but only cast a glance in my direction, which is within, to find the way by day or night. I make the path, I light the light. I lead you by the hand, and yet you trust me not, although you profess my being in words. The cycle has come in the circulation of my doing, and now I lead my faithful ones to victory over self. For they shall recognize my image as the light of sight, the light of right, instilled within each of my parts. And though I shake the ashes of my universe, the furnaces of my heat shall ever be the love of me expressed in thee. End of chapter.